What is a high value man according to Islam? So, Red Pill has an opinion, self-improvement has an opinion. What's the Islamic perspective? But the high value Muslim man is a Ferrari SF90, a car that is beautiful in the inside, beautiful on the outside. Because the women, they are drawn to the dunya, the resources and the stability, right? That is what brings that attraction. And the men, they are drawn to women, right? They are drawn to their beauty and their femininity. This is normal, this is fitrah, and this is how Allah created us. There's no problem with it. The problem with the red pill is they shame women for wanting resources and stability, right? Like if I said I want my wife to be beautiful, mashallah, yani, no one's gonna have a problem with me. So why do we shame a woman for wanting to be taken care of, protected, secure, to have a man that she respects and allows to lead her? And so this clearly shows that extrinsic value played a massive role in female attraction and even advising females for marriage, on who to marry 1,400 plus years ago, and it still does today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Sultan, and today we're going to be going through how to become a high value man according to Islam. So let's go through the overview of what we're going to be going through in this training. Number one is, what is a high value man according to Islam? Why should we become a high value man, and how do we become a high value man according to Islam? So let's get straight into it. I hope you're having a good day. But by the way, if you want to join a like-minded Muslim community network of Muslim men who are improving themselves and their deen, bidnillah, you can check the first thing in the description. It'll be super beneficial. You could join the Majlis network and bidnillah benefit from accountability, secret videos, and an incredible network of young Muslim men grinding. So let's get into it. What is a high value man according to Islam? So Red Pill has an opinion. The self-improvement has an opinion. But what's the Islamic perspective, right? In Islam, a man's value is created in two forms, and ultimately anywhere, any man's value is created in two forms. The first value is intrinsic value, which is the state of your heart and your aql, yani the state of your taqwa, the state of your discipline. Your aql is discipline, your spiritual discipline, of your jihad al-nafs, your tazkiyah al-nafs, your akhlaq and your adab, your character and your manners, your tawheed, yani your Islam, basically your belief in Allah Azza wa Jal, your emotional intelligence, which is again controlling your nafs. It's that self-control. Again, it's basically a lot of these different terms of that are intermixed here. Your ilm and understanding, your ilm of yani Islam, and your leadership capability. These are your intrinsic things, the things that give you yani value of your heart and your mind, which is your deen and your ability to be intellectual. Yani. And the next thing is extrinsic value. Yani your worldly advantages or your worldly benefits and achievements, which is how much power and wealth you have, how much reputation and status you have. Yani what is your reputation among the people? What is your status and class, etc.? What is your academic level? How intellectual are you? How much do you know? How much do you read? How much do you study, etc.? What is your qualifications, etc.? These type of things. And what is your physical strength, and what does your physique look like? What does your martial arts look like? What does your skills and competence look like as a man? These like extrinsic utilitarian things and intrinsic utilitarian things build your value, yani, as a man. So when you look at a car has internal mechanics, which is the engine, the gearbox, the wiring, the steering wheel, yani the nuts and bolts that put everything together, as well as yani the actual, like, under the chassis there's a whole little build that, like, you know, connects the engine to the oil and the water and stuff, and also connects it to the wheels and stuff, right? There's that part. And then there's the external chassis. So in this analogy, the external chassis of a car is the design of the car, it's the sleekness, it's the features, it's the aircon, it's the software, it's these things that make the car look very pretty, right? And a high value man requires both. A red pill man is a man who has a beautiful exterior. Yani imagine somebody who, Ferrari, you have a Ferrari, someone's gonna give you a Ferrari. The guy says, I'll sell you a Ferrari, and it's gonna be great. And you see the Ferrari, yani pristine condition, clean, beautiful exterior, incredible software, incredible features, aircon is great, but you buy the car and you find out the engine is destroyed. So it's attractive on the outside, but it's hollow on the inside. And in our analogy, there's no deen, there's no tazkiyah nafs, there's no akhlaq and adab, there's none of these things, there's no Islam, like in terms of taking the kafir red pill man. But there's none of these Islamic things. There's no deen, there's no Islamic practice, there's no salah, there's no these things, right, that bring your status up in terms of interiorly. But the average man, average Muslim man, is incredible. Akhi, twin turbo engine, amazing internal mechanics, like everything's up to date, but there's no seats, there's no chassis, there's no features, there's no windows, there's no aircon. So it's a masterpiece of car engineering. Yani the deen is top notch, akhi. But no one can sit in the car, it's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like people can handle it. Like at least technically a car with no chassis, you could technically run it. Technically. It's gonna be extremely uncomfortable. It's gonna be difficult on you. So it's a masterpiece inside and invisible outside. But the high value Muslim man is a Ferrari SF90. A car that is beautiful in the inside, beautiful on the outside. It's reliable internally and externally. It's integrity in private and public. They don't do the deen for showing off. They have good ethics. These internal things that are important in terms of ethics, in terms of what Islam dictates, they have these beautiful things outside as well, right? It's that combination of the intrinsic and the extrinsic value that gives you a car that is functional, that is beneficial. Same thing with men. And so true masculinity, being a high value man, is taking that intrinsic value and extrinsic value and putting it together. That's ultimately what it means to be a high value man. And so why should we become high value men? Disclaimer 1. Intrinsic value is the bar. When we spoke about deen, taqwa, practice, sunnah, salah, ilm, all these things, all this stuff is the bar, right? We're already talking about somebody who has those incredible engines, right? So the deen is already assumed the foundation with the rest of what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk a lot about the extrinsic value. Disclaimer 2. These points are made to discuss real male and female attraction, psychology, and therefore as well through the lens of the Quran and Sunnah and observable reality. This is not red pill ideology, although there might be some cross references, right? So the marriage crisis reality. We have near a 50% divorce rate even among Muslims, especially in the West, right? Why? The reason is because we live in idealism, we live in fantasy, we ignore human nature, we deny how Allah Azza wa Jal designed man and woman. As Allah Azza wa Jal says, the man and the woman is not the same. Men and women are not the same. So we think we're all the same. We think in idealistic terms that we're gonna surpass these base, all these animalistic desires that we have, or all these human desires that we have. Human nature has not changed, and so we have to address the reality with honesty and not wishful thinking, right? And so, number 1, women want dunya, men want women. Rasulullah said, beware of the world and beware of women. Sahih Muslim. Ibn Hajar Asqalani explains that the Rasulullah saying fear of dunya is a warning to the woman. And the fear of woman is a warning for the men. Because the women, they are drawn to the dunya, the resources and the stability, right? That is what brings that attraction, right? And the men, they are drawn to women, right? They are drawn to their beauty and their femininity, right? This is normal. This is fitrah, and this is how Allah created us. There's no problem with it. The problem with the red pill is they shame women for wanting resources and stability, right? And of course, this is a general. There's some exceptions. I'm not gonna say there isn't someone with mashallah iman. They can circumvulate this, right? But even then, there's an argument to be made about resources, stability, and stuff like that. But Islam doesn't shame the women for wanting this, right? Because nobody shames a man for wanting a beautiful wife. Like if I said I want my wife to be beautiful, mashallah, no one's gonna have a problem with me. So why do we shame a woman for wanting to be taken care of, protected, secure? We shame women for their desire to have stability, protection, care, to have a strong father for her children, to have a man with status and competence, to have a man that she respects and allows to lead her. You wouldn't have a king. You wouldn't be happy with having a king who you don't like and don't respect. Right? You wouldn't be happy with that. So why do we expect women to just put up with kings that they don't respect? These kings are dumb. These kings are stupid and fat and ugly and dumb. They don't do anything good. They don't strive for anything. I'm not saying this to everyone, but this is the general thing. Is no problem that we need to understand as men that women wanting the stability and the resources and having that strong father and strong man and having that status and stuff, it isn't that within itself, right? But with all these things, they're as natural as you loving beauty of a woman, beauty of femininity, beauty of love from a woman. It's the same thing. Her desire for stability and resources and that type of man is the same as you wanting that type of woman. It's just that we don't want the same things. Do you get what I mean? So this is female attraction psychology. And a proof from the Sunnah for this is that about Fatima bint Qais, where she became lawful for marriage after she was divorced, and 3 men proposed. Right? Muawiyah, some of the Sanad say Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, yani Allahu alam, Abu Jahm, and Osama bin Zayd. Right? Radiyanhum. Rasulullah sallallahu basically there's a long hadith which explains that Rasulullah sallallahu said about these 3 men, as for Muawiyah, he is poor. And then in terms of as for Abu Jahm, he does not put down his staff from his shoulder. So what my shaykh said in explanation of this hadith is that he is shadid, yani he is very strong with women. So some interpret it as hitting women, but from what I was told, it is that yani he is very shadid. You know, he'll shout and he'll be strong, and he's very angry sometimes, right? So this is this type of man. As for Osama, he said, marry Osama, right? And she hesitated because of his status. She said, yani, marry Osama, right? Like that, right? It's like, what? Right? Like, you know, like, if you don't know who Fatima bint Qais is, she is a very high status woman of Quraysh. Yani, in terms of, she is very high status. We're talking about the woman. The moment her iddah is done, people are lining up at the queue. So she's very confused as what Rasulullah sallallahu is saying. But Rasulullah sallallahu said that yani, obedience to Allah and His Messenger is best, right? And along these lines, and she said, she basically allowed it, and she got married, and she said that she was pleased. Yeah? She was pleased with Osama radiyanhum. But there's some benefits something we can take from the story. Number one is, look at what Rasulullah is commenting on, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The first thing he comments on is, as for Muawiyah, he's poor. So, extrinsic value. He is giving an advice to a woman based on the man's extrinsic value. He is poor. Yani, you will suffer with him in terms of that stuff. As for yani, Abu Jahm, he yani, does not put it down his staff from his shoulder. Meaning he's shadid. He doesn't have that emotional intelligence. That's an intrinsic value marker. And then, yani, we can also see Fatima bint Qais talking about reputation and status as she rejects Osama. She rejects Osama because of status. She was like, I should marry a man of status. Do you see what she's looking out for? Extrinsic value, stability, status, resources. And then look at what Rasulullah says. Of course, another benefit, obedience to Allah and His Messenger is the best. Rasulullah looked at all those 3, and the best of those options was the one with the highest extrinsic value, the highest intrinsic value. That would be the best for her, and she was pleased. And so this clearly shows that extrinsic value played a massive role in female attraction and even advising females for marriage on who to marry 1,400 plus years ago, and it still does today. So if we're gonna sit here and we're gonna say, you know, guys, a woman should take me even from my mom's basement and I'm, doing nothing in my life, and I don't think any of us do that, but as we'll get to the exceptions of the rules, etc. But my point I'm trying to make is that it's very important to build that extrinsic value, right, to get the attraction of a woman and to maintain a healthy marriage. Number 2 is hypergamy. Now, again, I'm not a red pillar. I really don't like red pills. Stupid. Islam is the only way of life. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. However, psychologically, this is behavioral science. Women naturally aim upward, right, in terms of their attraction and their want for a mate. They will always aim for somebody who has the higher masculinity, the highest competence, the highest stability, the highest leaderships, and the highest status, right? And this is an evil, this is normal, this is psychology. But the red pillars, they complain and they insult women. As you can see in this diagram, is kind of how it works. Everyone looks for the best mate, right? And the red pillars, they complain and they insult women, and they manipulating using their desires by giving them a Ferrari with no engine, and they leave them crying and so severely abused. But many Muslim men start complaining about, the ones over here, they start complaining about the mahar is too high, the standards are too high, expectations are too high, which they are, by the way. There are cases where, nobody until the age of 45 is gonna give you $100,000 mahar. Calm down. I mean, that's not there's exceptions to the rule. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. Nor am I saying that there's no women who are affected by the feminism problem and they now start having crazy, even the dunya problem. where they have crazy expectations and crazy standards for men, right? I'm not saying that's true, like not true, but we are now acting like the twin turbo engine with no chassis. We expect them to come to us, but we have no seats, we have no chassis, we have no window, we have no aircon, even though we are the best engine, right? But for example, for you to understand this, if a woman looked at me and you, let's be honest, and we're in a marriage interview, and the woman is going to look at me and say, listen, akhi fil Islam, I need you to love me how I am. I'm not going to change myself for you. I'm not going to get fit. I'm not going to get in shape. I'm going to eat whatever I want, and you're just going to have to love me like that. Akhi, every man would just reject her instantly. Not because they're evil. They're not evil. It's not evil to say that. But because beauty standards exist. Because men do want women who are beautiful. So why are men shocked when women also have standards for men? It's very confusing, right? In this, our desanitization or desensitization, yani, it's not fair. It's not fair to complain all the time and just complain, and all the women have to lower their standards when we wouldn't lower ours. Again, I'm not saying yani Megan Fox level, brother. If you are not Megan Fox, you're cooked. I'm not saying that. But yani, it's not like you wouldn't say that. Let's just be honest, okay? You do want that. The same way that she wants somebody with any resources, competence, and status. And so we men in this day and age have a desensitization to women's beauty. And there is a beauty standards problem. There is a beauty standards problem. And we have to compromise on that. And there is a desensitization to dunya resources and competence and men and these things from the women's side. And they have to compromise too. This is a reality, right? We both have to compromise on these things. However, we have to live in reality too. We have no choice in today's day and age except to become exceptional high value men. Because if we are not that Ferrari SF90 who is both valuable intrinsically, like we said, in the deen and your akhlaq and your adab and your Islam, and extrinsically in terms of your status and your power and your wealth and your yani resources, etc., your marriage will suffer. Right? Like, I'm just gonna be honest. I've watched so much podcasts, read books on these type of things, and in the podcast, there's so many examples of counseling couples where the women are complaining about this, and I've seen this in our communities. Women saying, "Oh, I don't even want a man with anything, whatever. Like, I don't even care and whatever." It's like, why do we make them feel that way? It's unfair. It's all a lie, akhi. And one thing that I think a mindset we don't understand, because we've been listening to too much self-improvement red pill. The woman's the prize, akhi. We don't have to pretend like that's not true. Who's the one asking for marriage 90% of the time? And don't bring up Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the greatest human being to ever walk the planet. Of course, Khadija radiallahu anha would propose to him. And look at what, actually, let's take that example. Khadija radiallahu anha, why did she propose to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Qadr Allah azza wa jal. Lakin, look at it. What did he display? Number one, he displayed intrinsic value. His kindness and his adab towards even her slave. His good honesty in the market. But his intelligence in the market too. He made a lot of money when he took that trade for Khadija radiallahu anha. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam basically doubled the merchandise. And he brought back the money. And he not doubled the merchandise. He basically recouped the merchandise and brought back money. He was really skilled in trade. So you see her look at the intrinsic and the extrinsic value and then send that proposal. Of course, we never know what Khadija radiallahu anha intended, but we can see that based on those physical things that she saw, he was valuable. Of course, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was from one of the highest families of Quraysh. So these factors that we don't want to accept of the reality, but it is the reality, ikhwan. And we have to be real. We have to become the SF90, akhi. Or else we're going to get our wife in 10 years, she's going to tell us, yeah, I don't respect you. And I'm not saying that all of us, I think all of us watching this video, we're working towards that, but I want you to understand the opposite. We can't be those people and those who have those objections to not trying to be that SF90, to not trying to be the high value man. And it's not a cure, it's a blessing. Because again, like I was saying about the woman is the prize. Akhi, we can both have to compromise, but who has to compromise more? She has to compromise less because she's the prize, akhi. And if you want somebody of actual substance, that's gonna be hard. Again, just a woman who covers in the 21st century, you're already like top 0.0001 human beings. Next, you want somebody who alongside that, they are also valuable extrinsically and intrinsically. You have to be top of the chain. You want something that the whole world wants, but whether they know it or not. With modesty and intrinsic and extrinsic value. And the woman is the prize. So we got to work just that much harder for it. That's why we don't have the choice. And it's, alhamdulillah, a blessing. Because we then all have to become exceptional men, which will build our path to taqwa, our path to getting closer to Allah Azza wa Jal, our path to being stronger men, our path to building ourselves as tools to serve Allah Azza wa Jal, our path to building more goodness in this world so we can use it to serve Allah Azza wa Jal, and put pressure on us to be better servants and better men for our families and for our future. And just so you know, if you want brothers to help assist you on this journey of becoming the high value Muslim man, you can join us brothers who are already working towards that, bi'idhnillah azza wa jal. There's no group like this on the internet of these high value Muslim men joining together this young, building ourselves on the journey. If you want help with that accountability that you need, a brotherhood you need, as well as some secret information I never share on YouTube about this stuff, you can join the first link in the description to join the Majlis Network. It's incredible. We have an incredible group of brothers there. If you want to make some like-minded friends, chat about Allah Azza wa Jal and self-development, that's the perfect place for you. So we've talked about what being a high-value man is, which is having those two intrinsic and extrinsic. We talk about why, which is that the woman is the prize. We are all desanitized with the dunya, and the woman want dunya, and so we have to go and get the dunya to get the woman, right? Because we want the woman, right? And so how do we become high value Muslim men? I want you to think of marriage like a business deal. In a business deal, your job is to create as much value as possible and present your value clearly, thereby increasing your leverage, which increases your worth in the deal. The more leverage you have in the deal, i.e. the more value you bring to the table, the more you will get out. Therefore, the same applies to marriage. Not in a cheap red pill Lamborghini sense. Not like you have to just get a Lamborghini, get a Bugatti, and get all these things, and then you're gonna have value. That's not what I mean. But in an Islamic, masculine, value-driven sense, I mean bringing your ilm to the table, bringing your academics to the table, bringing your wealth to the table, bringing your status to the table. And status just means reputation, who you are, how people perceive you. I mean, yeah, clout in some sense, but that also comes from friends. That also comes from how people perceive you and stuff. Also, it comes from just who you are, your character, your manners and things like this. All these things that we spoke about. Bringing as much intrinsic and as much extrinsic value to this brings you the highest negotiating power, which means you will get the best girl that you can be in Allah Azza wa Jal. So how do we build our values, man? Just like a business builds value, businessmen, they build capital. Businessmen, they build influence with their networks. Businessmen, they build they are good at selling and presenting. Businessmen, they have good ethics as a Muslim. In a business deal, you would need incredible systems. You need incredible long-term reliability. Trust. In a business, you need status and reputation. As a business owner, you basically have to do the same thing. But a Muslim man, he builds his tawheed, he builds his taqwa and his tazkiyah, he builds his ilm, he builds his discipline, he builds his competence, his skill, right? In an array of things, but specifically his ability to gain wealth, his stability, his reputation, and his leadership. And that is the exact same model. You increase that intrinsic value, you increase that extrinsic value. And again, that doesn't mean become a billionaire and a celebrity and a Bugatti and 5 million followers. It means simply becoming a highly well-rounded man in every area, but strong across the board. Strong in all these forms that I'm about to say. And so the daily formula to become that high value man is spending time on these 5 things I'm about to say. The first thing is building your deen, your intrinsic value. You're doing adhkar, doing salah every day, your sunnah salah, building your tahajjud, building your Quran memorization, doing sadaqah, building tazkiyah, fighting against your sins, getting closer to Allah Azza wa Jal, things like building your character and your manners. These are the things you do every single day that's gonna build that engine of you as a man. It's very important. You cannot skip this step. Any man who misses this step is cooked. So every single day you do this is gonna build you as a high value Muslim man. Second is physique. So this is the extrinsic and discipline area. So you should train aesthetics. I know people don't say you shouldn't train, but to an extent you must train aesthetics so you can look pretty, and that builds your value extrinsically. You can go for a body recomp, to be fair. You can eat clean every day. You do cardio every day, even if it's 5 to 10, 15 minutes. And then you just do martial arts as well. And your physique is a presentation of the discipline you've made visible. And discipline is a marker for competence, stability, strength, which will be attractive to women. As well as just sexually, you will be attractive, which is also another value plus. Again, again, when I say all these things, like, it's beneficial and stuff, but you gotta stop thinking, like, when I was younger, before Islam, it was all about these things, right? But as a Muslim, really, I was watching Righteous and Rich, Imran ibn Mansour. He said the men, they get the dunya to get the woman. So you got to see it as means, brother. Of course, it's beneficial to you and it's a good motivator to build yourself. But at the end of the day, when I'm speaking, I don't want you to see that I come across as like super red pill. When I say you got to build your aesthetics and you got to build your value in your martial arts, etc., I don't want you to make me sound like that. Remember, our intention is to get halal intimacy and build a strong marriage and build strong children off the back of that, bi'idhnillah azza wa jal, with the best mother possible, which means that we have to be the best fathers possible. And so, your physique, again, our first value is our deen, our intrinsic value, our akhlaq, our adab, our emotional intelligence, our tazkiyah, etc. This is very important. Next is your physique, it's your intrinsic value. 3 is intellect. Building an intellect as a man is very important, right? Your academics, essentially. So read daily. Read about your craft, whether it's what work you want to do. Read about subjects you enjoy. I love history, so you can read and watch videos and podcasts about these things. Read and watch podcasts as well. You can study beneficial dunya concept for the future. You can study halal intimacy. Like, there are books for it. There are imams who wrote books for it, by the way. You can study female attraction from Muslim sources. Again, you can study how the world runs and who runs it. You can study these type of things that are beneficial for your future. You can also just just take in information. Be smart. Being smart just means throw a lot of stuff in this brain, let it build some stuff, right? And expand your mind. You can also have a hobby on the weekends. I haven't done this recently, but I could. I used to write poetry. I did. I used to write poetry, and I used to do calligraphy. So you can do halal art, you can do poetry. A sharp mind, right, is a part of intrinsic value, and ultimately, women like interesting guys. If you're a dumb idiot and you don't know anything, and you're not interesting, you're gonna be boring. And women don't like boring guys, so you better be interesting. Okay, so and ultimately it's kind of fun. So again, like I said, don't look at this as a curse. Look at it as a blessing. Like, you really just gotta be a G in every aspect of life, essentially. That is beneficial. Number 4 is ilm, sacred knowledge. So learn your aqidah, learn your fiqh, learn your seerah, learn your tariq, learn your Arabic. Learn all the subject of Islam. And this builds that internal software, that clarity, that wisdom, that decision making. And it's very important even in marriage, right? In the future, when you make decisions and you study tariq of ulama and you study tariq of khulafa of the Islam and you study tariq of the prophets of Allah Azza wa Jalla, especially Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the way that you make decisions is that's the way, your internal compass. That is your software. That is internal value, by the way. The ilm in your heart, right, that you have for the sake of Allah is internal value, right? And stability and status. So your working on building stability for yourself, building wealth for yourself, building status for yourself, building your job, whether it's working in university, working on a business, work in general, and really trying to build yourself and reach those high goals of those dunya things, right? Building your skill and also building your reputation in your community, or ultimately clout. I'm not gonna lie to you, clout hits different, okay? I'm not gonna pretend like that doesn't matter. And a lot of kuffar, they use it to attract the wrong type of woman. It is beneficial to attract the right type of woman if you use it correctly. But of course, if you're just only gonna get her because she wants your Instagram following, I wouldn't say start social media, but I am saying being famous, although we should not want fame. You get what I mean? I'm not trying to promote fame, but what I'm saying is having a reputation or community is the best way to compromise all these things. Again, trying your best not to focus on fame. Just be a good guy, build your stuff, be a good dude. You'll build a good reputation or community, bi'idhnillah, and you'll build that status. And of course, through that wealth and that stability, that also builds a status. Get away from social media, come on, unless you're doing it for that stability and status, right? Or you're doing it to please Allah Azza wa Jal. This is your external chassis, right? This is what the world sees. And so working on these 5 things every single day, you will build your high value. You will build that value. And come back in 2 to 5 years of doing this every single day, 5 times a week, you'll be a Mercedes Mercedes S-Class. You're refined, you're stable, you're respected, right? You have enough status for somebody to say, I want that Mercedes S-Class, right? Has a good engine, has incredible chassis, right? you'll be يعني, desirable in that way. And come back in 15 years, you'll be an SF90. You just keep doing these things. If you build your intrinsic and you build your extrinsic, you will be compounding in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years of your value as a man. And of course, that will also benefit your marriage, bi'idhnillah azza wa jal. And in 35 years, you're going to be a Pagani. If you just stick on it, the discipline, right? This is how men are built. Men are built brick by brick, day by day. You don't level up in 90 days. You level up in 10,000 days. You level up over time. And we perhaps know this fact, but it's real. Men, they get their value by building themselves. And so, and your utility. And so the more utility you have intrinsically and extrinsically, the more you will be desired. I.e., you will get the best woman that you can. And I want you to understand that one thing that will destroy your value is that no matter how much money you have, how much muscle you have, how much status you have, how much reputation you have, if you are addicted to prawn, your entire value collapses. Brother, prawn kills your leadership, it kills your energy, it kills your ambition, it kills your masculinity, it kills your taqwa, it kills your marriage, and it kills a man's sense of power. It is literally the single greatest destroyer of male value today. Like, there was a man, I'm doing research for my porn cure course, and there's a man who literally donated $4,900,000 in 1 year to Sophie Rain, an OnlyFans model. Right? That is crazy, dog. Imagine spending 5 million bands. You made all this money and you gotta pay it to Sophie Rain for OnlyFans. Brother, ittaqillah, bro. I don't even know what to say to that. That's crazy. But wealth means nothing if lust controls you. And a man who cannot conquer his lust, he will eventually destroy his marriage, his wealth, his iman, his self-respect. And that's why quitting porn is foundational for becoming high value. So you can check the second link in the description to get the Annihilate Porn Course V1, which will help you beneficially fight back against your pee addiction. Bi'idhnillah. It's been a benefit to brothers. You can check out the testimonials there. But I want you to get it because I want you to get the newest project I'm releasing soon, the Porn Cure course, which is gonna bi'idhnillah change the game of the ummah. The males of the ummah will never, through this course, will never, I repeat, never have to be stuck with this fitna ever again. You will finally, I've never seen on the internet, but I plan to create something that will truly solve this problem of porn and gooning and lust for Muslim men forever. So if you get the Annihilate P course, second link in the description right now, you will be getting the free upgrade that comes out at the end of the year, which is basically the greatest. This is like basically my course on crack. Like the stuff that I'm doing here, brother, I'm trying to make a course that you watch it and you never ever watch it again. You don't have to struggle like to really fight this. I'm trying to make it as easy, as fast, as best as possible, bi'idhnillah. So if you get it now, you can get 25% off by buying it now and getting that, as well as on top of buying it right now, which is kind of like a pre-order, but you already get beneficial things to fight back and beneficial resources that others have already found benefit in. You will also be getting an extra free copy if you buy before I launch the Porn Cure course, more expensive. You will also get a copy of my other 24 course bundle. Yes, 24 Islamic self-development courses that I'm going to be releasing as a bundle. You get that for free. So by buying this course in its first sense, you'll be getting not only the resources to start fighting back against it, changing your mindset, you'll get the free upgrade of the Porn Cure course, which will literally cure porn addiction. Bi'idhnillah azza wa jal. Make dua that Allah grants me tawfiq to grant this to make this happen, as well as getting an extra 24 courses on Islamic self-development. So no brainer. You get the real course for cheaper. You get 24 extra courses for free. So anyone, I will check everybody who buys before I launch. Every one of them will get an email straight with that new free version of the 24 courses when I launch. So check it out now. Take advantage of that deal. You don't have to go wait for yourself. I'm telling you, this Porn Cure course is going to change so much for us. Finally, there's going to be a way out of the darkness. And I want that for everyone, man. I want that for everyone. So by doing this, you get it cheaper and you secure your spot to get that free upgrade to the Porn Cure course. Bi'idhnillah azza wa jal. I'm so excited to release it. And look, build your value. Become that man. Bi'idhnillah, you're going to be beneficial in this dunya and akhirah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.